Hello and welcome to another episode of Elephant English Podcast. Today we're going to be having a conversation about living on a narrowboat. The first question is, what is a narrowboat?
A narrowboat is a traditional boat which used to be used to transport materials such as coal and wood and flour, and now it's popular for people to live on. It's narrow because it's only 6 foot 10 inches wide, which is about 1.82 metres. And they can be different lengths. About the smallest one would be 30 foot, which is about 9 metres long. And the longest is 70 foot, which is about 21 metres long.
And why do people choose to live on them?
Many people choose to live on them because it's a gentler way of life, it's eco-friendly, and they have the freedom to move whenever they want to, so they don't have to live in one area all of the time.
And where can the boats go?
In England, they can go on canals and rivers. The canals are a system of waterways which were dug by hand in the Industrial Revolution so that products could be moved by boat. The rivers are natural and boats can go on them too. They either run alongside the canals or the canals join up with some rivers. And they are all over the country. They're in England, Scotland and Wales, although the Scottish canals don't join up with the English canals.
So you're basically saying that if you buy a boat in Manchester, if you wanted to live in London next year, you would be able to move the boat to London and change where you live.
Yes, you can move every day if you want to, or move every week or every 2 weeks. You would have to plan your journey because the narrowboats travel very slowly. They travel the maximum is at 4 miles per hour, which is walking pace. You couldn't plan to travel from Manchester to London in 1 week. You would have to plan to move over a number of months.
But I think the lifestyle of the people that live on narrowboats is quite slow and calm. So it's not like living in a van where you can go to different places very quickly. I think when you decide to live on a boat, you're deciding to live a calmer life.
Yes, part of the reason for deciding to live on a narrowboat is the slower pace of life. The fastest that any vehicle would go past you is 4 miles per hour.
And how are narrowboats powered?
Traditionally, narrowboats are powered with a big engine, a diesel engine. This would have come from a tractor or a bigger boat. They're very powerful engines because they were used to transport the goods. But now people are trying new technologies. It is possible to have an electric powered boat, which is very new technology, and so it's expensive at the moment, but people are hoping that it will become cheaper in the future, because at the moment the boats are powered with diesel engines, which is not environmentally friendly.
And if you live on a boat, how do you get electricity, water, and the internet?
Your electricity comes from the engine. So when you're cruising, your batteries are being charged up, and you can use this power later on when you're moored up. Also, a lot of boats have solar power. They have large solar panels on the roof of their boat, and this captures the sun, and then this is turned into power later on. The water is more of a problem than the electricity because you have a water tank, and along the canals and river there are water pipes where you stop and you fill up your water tank. So it is possible to run out of water if you don't take notice of how much water you're using. In this way, people become very aware of how much water they're using in the shower or washing up or with the washing machine. So in that way, it is very environmentally friendly. People get the internet on the boats the same way as you would with your phone, and then you have an external aerial which picks up the signal. So because of this, depending on what area you are in, your internet signal would be very strong or very low, or sometimes you might not have any signal at all. So for people who are working from their boat, it can be a problem, but it just means you have to plan ahead a bit more than you do from living in a house.
How do the people that live on narrowboats work?
A lot of people don't work. A lot of people are retired. Some people work from the boat using the internet. And then there are a lot of people who have a car and they have to drive to work from wherever their boat is.
So they always live on the boat in the same area, do they?
Yes. For example, some people work as a doctor or nurse in Manchester. So they can cruise quite a wide area, and their journey to work would be up to 1 hour's drive. But it means that they have to move the boat and then go back to get the car, and they do what's called leapfrogging. So you collect your car and then drive it, say, for an hour and park it. Then you walk back to get the boat. Then the next day you move the boat. Then you go back for your car. Then you drive it. And
so it must be quite stressful, especially if the weather is bad. You have to keep walking back to the boat.
Yes, it's not the ideal option. But some of these people only work 3 days a week, or they stay in one place for 2 weeks at a time. But I know it's very hard sometimes, especially when it gets dark early in the autumn and winter, that they're often walking along the towpaths when it's dark at night.
So why have you decided to live on a narrowboat?
We've had holidays on narrowboats for the past 4 or 5 years, and we love the lifestyle, the nature, and the general slowness of life.
But what are the disadvantages of living on a narrowboat?
The disadvantages are that you have a very small space. So you have to think about what you can put on your narrowboat. You would have less clothes, for example, and less books, less belongings in general. And some people find this a problem. The other disadvantage is that you have to think about the water that you use and your electric. You have to be aware more of what you're using so that you don't run out of power or run out of water.
And what do you think about living in such a small space? Because it's like living in a hallway, isn't it, really?
Yes, it's very narrow, but it is very long. If you measure 17 metres, which is 57 foot, which is what our boat is going to be, if you actually walk or pace out 17 metres, it's quite long. You'd be surprised it's quite long. But it means that the bathroom is very small, the bedroom is small, the kitchen is small. So what you don't have is your space for a big sofa or a big television or for a lot of knickknacks in your cupboard.
So you've got to reduce the amount of things that you have.
Yes, realistically, everything you take on your boat should have one use or maybe 2 uses. You can take books and ornaments, obviously, but really you have to think if something has a purpose when you're taking things onto the boat. And some people have their own rule that they only buy something like a mug or a plate when the other one has broken. So some people have the rule of one thing on, one thing off. If you buy a new coat, then you get rid of your other coat. And that's the way that they don't collect a lot more items that they don't need.
So, in today's video, we've talked about living on a narrowboat. If you have any questions, please post a comment in the comment section. And if you have liked it, please press the like button and subscribe to my channel. I have made a worksheet with activities with the vocabulary that we have used in this video, and you can find that along with a transcript in the description box below. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.